about these days, marching men, soldiers marching all over the world. The airborne infantry also marches, but not far this time. They're plenty tough, trained for action anywhere, ready for it any time. On the ground, they can take care of themselves and the enemy. But in the air, these men are dependent on the flight crew of the troop carrier airplane, with a good share of responsibility resting on the pilot and co-pilot. For the success or failure of a mission can depend on getting these troops to the proper place at the proper time.
Yeah, the weather was pretty bad. The morning that we thought that the plane crashed, that was a very, very bad morning. My father used to work on the roads, and he got up early to go to work. He heard the plane overhead. There was like a crash or something he didn't hear anymore. So then he was saying that it was a very bad morning for people to be maybe out somewhere. Sure, I grew up in what they call Cronin's Yard now too. And that's the footy garden too, really. I was reared in the house that's there. And I went to school in Gurtbuy, which was about maybe a mile down the road.
It's just a small village near the mountain. Things were much slower than now, like you were after the war in the 50s. Things were very poor in Ireland that time. The plane had failed like 10 years before that, before I was growing up. And like people were always talking about it.
Well, I suppose people weren't very well off there. They weren't, of course not. I'm sure we didn't have any electricity. I remember all the rationing and everything was so scarce. Tea and sugar and everything was rationed. We had coupons for clothes and butter. There was coupons for most things. Well, I suppose somebody broke the news, yes. And of course, like that, we were all in amazement and shock.
My father was born in Kinmare, and he married into this farm when he was only 22. He inherited this farm. And he was 26 years of age when he found the plane on the mountain, and he had 3 kids at that time. Yes, on his own land himself, and Dennis Donohoe. He's been known also as Jody Donohoe. He was a neighbour, and the two were in the mountain after the snow, after the winter, in February, looking, for the sheep that time. And they came across the tail of the plane, and then they came across the bodies and the whole lot. They climbed up to the top that day, and it was a cold, wet day and a hailstone, and then he just cycled to Beaufort, himself and your man, and reported in the local Garda station. And it was, they had to make statements that time, it was after 12 o'clock at night before they ever finished then. Things were moving slowly that time. He cycled home, and then the army and the guards and everyone was up in the morning, so it was a hectic couple of days before to get the bodies off the mountain that time, and they were in the decomposed position and everything. So that wasn't easy, communication, and there's research, helicopters, everything. There was nothing that time, even the police and the army had very poor transport, and the road network was bad, and some people coming from Dublin, and the army fellas coming from barracks had short notice in the morning and hardly nothing to eat. To go to the mountains, it was really hard going for them at the time, they said,
And then, of course, we had the army to come to take the bodies. We saw them coming down along the road, along the Coombs Road. They left the bodies in a shed near the school.
their hands, like where the, you know, where your shirt tied around your hand, like that wouldn't be burned at all, like. Or where their watch was on wasn't burned, or the flesh, because it was tight, like it saved. And we'll say the collar of the shirt, like the wrist was burnt, but you know that. Things like that, yeah. Yeah. The heat, you see, that saved the heat from skin burning. I had them saying different things like that, like, yeah.
February 1944. World War II touched the lives of the people at the foot of the Kerry Mountains. A brand new C-47 Skytrain carrying 5 young men hit the mountain. Their last flight was to have taken them from northern Morocco along the Atlantic coast of Spain and Portugal to Cornwall. After hours in the air, the Douglas C-47 Skytrain was hundreds of miles off course. Battered by wind and rain in the MacGillycuddy Reeks, in desperation, realising their mistake, they must have turned. The final fatal error, that turn at 2,000 feet, was too low to avoid the mountain. Cuimhne Paiste Lake holds all that remains of the lost Skytrain.
And then one of the soldiers, he was supposed to bring back a present to his wife. It was shoes, a pair of shoes. And they found one green shoe on the mountainside. Wasn't it amazing? I do remember when it happened, yeah.
It crashed in December.
It did, yes. But then they didn't find it until, was it February?
Mm-hmm.
But like that, as I say, we were always looking up at the shiny thing. We thought it was water flowing over a stone.
That just turned my father mad, like. As you see, some people said when the plane crashed that they could see a fire, like from, you'd say the Cahillane road, like. And like there was cloud down and rain, the mountains were covered. And my parents were over in the old house. And like they thought it was like a stone ditch fell, like, you know, that kind of a bang. That's all they heard. They took no notice because ditches in these part of the country would fall, they'd crash, like from the ground to go, you'd get a crash with ditch and to make an awful rumble.
Like the mountains were mostly covered with snow during those winters. We don't have all that snow in the mountains now. But I remember like coming from school, we see the mountains and they were white.
Like when those people were saying that they had seen the fire and everything, like my father said, like, rubbish, like.
No, I'm not sure the weather was so bad, and as I say, it was like a kind of, people would look up and they'd see the thing shining. Sure, if they were up and down to it, people would know. Well, of course, like the people themselves were talking, but you're like, I don't know now, well, in our house we didn't have a radio, but there was a radio, and I think then she had a radio. So people used to go there to listen to the news. Oh, he was a lovely neighbour. a great neighbour, and he had the first car in Meallis, and he used to take the people to Mass. And I'm sure he had the first tractor as well.
There was a war on that time, 1944. Oh, I can't remember. It was winter. Up in the mountain there was hailstone and snow, and it was terrible weather. It wasn't a very pleasant thing, I can tell you it, aren't I discovered the tail down on the valley, down below. Came tumbling down the mountain. I suppose 280 feet down from where it crashed. There must be a tremendous fire. The aluminium melted. I could melt grease in a pan. That was a scene, all right. It was 5 young men. Every time I passed that place, I always prayed for them on that mountain. We notified the authority and they came up there, the army. Of course the locals were up there and they swarmed it. That was it. A thing like that happens, the news don't belong going around. Everybody knows. Everybody wants to see and everybody wants to hear and know. Same the world over, I suppose.
Well, I remember seeing people everywhere, even like everybody was trying to get a bit of a souvenir, I suppose, or something, of the plane.
I think there was some couple of handguns there as well. There was bits of talk about them that time. They one of them go missing and they found it again, When they investigated the crime, they said there was, 5 guns there, And then they were only able to count for 4, but they kind of knew, and they got it anyway, the police work.
Where did they find it?
They got it anyway, yes, within a day or that way, yeah.
All right. Where was it?
Oh, it wasn't far away,
Oh.
yeah. In the chair, the pilot seat, somebody had it and they put it on a block of timber, which, made a swivel chair out of it, which was a big wonder in the 50s, We had a few coins in memory, but there was people that had come from America and everything, and people said, look, could you give us one of the coins? And my father and mother did, at the time, they had no. Other people would have different sentimental value and things like that, so it was the right people got them when they finished.
As soon as the people knew that it was there and it was news, of course, everybody was going up to see it. Well, of course, it attracted a lot of people while there was bits and pieces of it left. Yes.
The lake, the one whole wing is in the lake. One time there I went to meeting at the hall, people wanted to take it out and they brought up this, it was Sunday, they brought up this car like a hovercraft, to travel on the mountain. And Kerry, a mountaineering crowd, objected to that, and the community council eyed it too, and a lot of people went to meeting at the hall. They wanted to take it out that time, and the Kerry mountaineering people with Beaufort Community Council and the local people said leave it there. And we got our way. So that was a great achievement,
There was a war on, there was news every day of somebody being killed, and thousands being killed. That's it. There's a war, when there's a war on, there's people getting killed. You think of all these things, but you don't like to have too much to say about these things, you know what I mean? You just want to forget. Because nothing happened. But yet it did happen. That's it.